What's up, party people? It's KeysDAN with RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com, coming to you live in a living color from the Radio What studios. And this is my podcast, What Makes You Famous. It's an extension of the RadioWhat.com internet radio station that I've been running for quite some time. And if you need DJ services, where do I always send you? DJLittleRock.com. One more time, DJLittleRock.com. Check availability and get a free price quote. And maybe you can have me at your next event. You know I like to party with the people. The people need to be entertained. Are you not entertained? Let me entertain you. Make your next thing a big one. Speaking of entertainment, today on the program, I have Jason Lancaster. What? You know that name. Jason Lancaster, guitarist, guitar hero, guitar god? You be the judge. He's of Cabover Pete most recently. A few left standing, if you remember them from the late 90s. Yes, few left standing. Look them up. Come on, people. Get with the program. You're going to hear what's going on with Jason Lancaster in the next few minutes. In fact, this is kind of a catch-up, if you will. He had a podcast about 400 episodes ago. I had Jason Lancaster on the What Makes You Famous podcast, and I'm looking forward to catching up and finding out more about what's going on with Jason Lancaster today. This week's shows, I will be at the Rab on Friday night. Black Friday. It's Friday. I'll be at the Rab on Friday. They have it's the video dance, my usual Friday night gig, the video dance party, karaoke jam. Yes, I said karaoke. You're the stars of the show. They got a full bar, kitchen's open. In fact, they got new items in the kitchen. If you haven't been listening, if you haven't been to the Rab in even a month, they just got taken over. There's new owners, and the owners happen to own the Italian restaurant. Was it Verona, up on 65 in Conway, right as you're going out of town, right across from the movie theater. They have the Italian restaurant. Well, the gentleman, the family, bought the Rab, and now they're adding menu items to the food at the Rab. It's delicious, I tell you. Even the burgers have gotten better. So, they got some street cred to the kitchen. So it's some good food going on back there. Check out the new menu items at the Rab. And, of course, they got the full bar and the usual great bar staff. They have pool tables, a pool tournament on Friday nights. So if you want to try your hand at playing pool and possibly make some money while you're doing it, I encourage you to check out the Rab at Conway, Arkansas, 8 p.m. until 12:30 in the a.m. on Friday nights. Yeah, come out, sing a song, have some fun at the Rab. And then on Saturday, Saturday I don't have anything right now, but we'll see what happens. Who knows? But it might be good to take some time off and enjoy my family on a Saturday. Because it's going to be rough this next couple of months. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm not ready for it. But it's coming. Oh, the holidays. Oh, my goodness. Hey, I'm sorry if you hear some coughs during the podcast, because I'm still I'm fighting this cold. I feel good, but if I have these headphones and I'm talking into a mic a little too long, I start coughing a little bit. I'll try to hit the cough button as much as I can. I know you just heard that one cough just a few seconds ago. All right, party people, that's enough intro. Let's get into it with Jason Lancaster, guitar hero. I got him on Skype, so if you're listening to the audio version, I encourage you to check out the video version on my YouTube page, youtube.com/user/KeysDAN. Skyping Jason Lancaster now. Look at him. Oh, my goodness, my man, Jason Lancaster, guitar hero. How's it going?
It's going good. Hey.
Yeah, I know, we both had a long day of work, and at the end of this day, it's nice to have a conversation, talk about things we got to talk about. Now, about 400 episodes ago, you were on this podcast. So if anyone wants to listen to the story of Jason Lancaster, how he became the guitar hero that he is, you can go back and listen to that. It's available for free. For free. Oh my goodness. I guess the recap, and this is coming off the dome. I didn't write anything down, but the recap was, you're born in the South, in and around, grew up in and around the South, but spent the majority of your time in the West Memphis, Arkansas area. Mom and dad, I guess, were Homer and Marge Simpson. They had mom was a homemaker and dad was a safety inspector at nuclear facilities. That's pretty cool. But then somewhere around 10 years old, you stole or acquired a mom's practice guitar that the frets would hurt your fingers real bad. But she said, "Oh, I guess he's really into this guitar." She bought you a real guitar, like a Squire knockoff, and you taught yourself how to play, man. And you still don't know how to read music. Did I get the beginning part right?
Did you go back and listen to the first episode?
It feels like I did.
All that info, if not, that's really good.
No, it feels like I did. But no, I remember things, and there's I guess you did have a modicum of stardom. You had little bands when you were growing up, playing some covers and such, but then you got into the Christian metal scene with the Few Left Standing in the mid 90s to the late 90s, maybe into the 2000s. But then, yeah.
It would be the late 90s.
Late 90s.
Few Left Standing was the only band of note. Anything up to that point was just learning, how to be in a band and, all that. But the real band that I was in was Few Left Standing, and that was 98 to about 2001. 2002 was the bulk of what we did. We put out 2 albums and a 7-inch, and we were on Take Hold Records out of Birmingham, Alabama. And Take Hold got sold to Solid State, which is owned by Tooth and Nail out of Washington State. So it's like, at the time, I don't know if it's still the thing, but Tooth and Nail was the biggest Christian alternative rock and metal, label there was.
Well, the thing that I remember is that I guess your lead singer, Chris, if I'm not mistaken, he left the band. He had family problems. But that's where I wanted to start, because being a touring musician is hard on a family. And as we get older, it's harder and harder and harder to keep bands together. Sometimes you could be weekend warriors. To be full-time in a bus, going town to town, across country, even trying to go all around the world, that's for a younger man. That's for somebody in their 20s that is still made of rubber, still got Wolverine powers. But once you start wanting to settle down and get a family together, then, hey, maybe that dream, you have to make choices. And the world is about choices. Life is about choices. You can either choose to be the musician and have, hundreds and thousands of groupies and screaming fans, or you can have that one fan at home that takes care of you, that you take care of, that you develop a union with. And so, where did you end up? I mean, I know where you ended up, but, give the people an idea of how your music career has evolved since Few Left Standing. Well,
I mean, full disclosure, I was never really a touring musician. I mean, I've been on outings of like, the most I've ever been out was a couple of weeks, at a time. And that was back during the Few Left Standing days. So, but even in that short time, it made me realize, like, if I had to do this for long stretches and just be away from my family, yeah, you can get a little misty eyed and, be pining for, the home. So yeah, I mean, that's definitely a thing. And if you don't hit early in your life with some modicum of success, it makes it harder when you get older. because there's not a thing to sustain that when you get older. You can kind of like call back to your earlier successes, as an older, guy, but, you really have to have something to kind of, build off of, early on.
Well, this is where we're at. We're finding that balance, between the loves in your lives, the loves of your wife, of your child, and the loves of your guitar and your fans. You have lots of love to give, and you're able to take that love and put it into song form. And this is, you were in a Christian rock, metal, heavy, guitar.
Or metalcore is what the kids would say.
And then
yeah, it's kind of like metalcore really had its heyday. I mean, I would say it really kind of took off after we stopped being a band. So a lot of the bands that are looked at as pinnacles of that style, we kind of came before them, or were coming up at the time that they were coming up, and it's just they went on, and we were one of those bands that kind of, for reasons, had to call it quits.
Well, these are crossroads that we all deal with as well. These are turning points, touchstones in your life. Who would have known that at 40 years old I was going to uproot my life in South Florida and come to Arkansas? And then there was even another little touchstone. When I first got here, I was offered up in Berryville my own radio station, 2 radio stations, in fact, one classic rock and one country station, where I would have complete autonomy, complete control. But my family was, my wife's family was really centered in Conway, so to go to Berryville, a couple of hours away, was not the way to go.
Too far.
Right, a bit too far. So, I mean, you've had those crossroads to where, look, you were at the cutting edge of metalcore. You could have signed on the dotted line and gone on to be a touring musician, to be, because you said you were 2 weeks out. You did tour. You went to Washington State and toured all over the Southeast as well as the Northwest. In the last time that we chatted, and I know you talked about some of the places that you opened for and took turns in festivals and such. And I encourage you, loyal listener, to go back and listen to that one. It's a good one. It was like I was in the early days of this podcast, so I wasn't so good, but Jason was awesome. But no, please continue with the rise of where Jason Lancaster, Guitar Hero, is now.
Well, I think when we first talked, that was about the time that we were getting offered to do the Furnace Fest reunion. And if you don't know, it's a big festival for that style of music in Birmingham, Alabama. And it was put on by the label head. So, we were preparing for that, and then COVID hit, so it pushed things back. So, we kind of got out of our groove. We were practicing, and then that happened, and then we had to go for a long period of not practicing and then get back into it. So, we played, and it was great. It was fun. And they have since decided to make it a yearly festival, which I figured would happen. But it was cool to come back and be one of the bands to kind of kick that off, And it was just cool to see some of the people that we hadn't seen in like 20 years.
Well, yeah, I wondered about that because I know you were heading off to that festival. Give me an idea of how that went. How many people actually showed up, and when exactly was that? What time and what year?
Well, it was the end of September, like September 24th to the 26th
of 2020.
Yes, of this year. Well, not when we played. We played the previous year, about the same time period.
2021.
Right. 2021, and then they did it again this year. So, they had like, let's see, trying to think, there was like 3 separate stages. It was that big. There was it happened at Slosh Furnaces at Birmingham, Alabama. And if you don't know, it's a historic historical site in Birmingham where it's just like the big furnaces from back at the turn of the century. And they have since made it into a state park, and they have, shows there and, all kinds of events. And the furnace stage is the main stage of the stage. It was the only stage back in the day. So it was great to be able to play that. But they had like the bigger, more professional, where like all the big bands, like Killswitch Engage, ended one of the nights. So Under Oath, which is the band that we came up with, they headlined one of the nights. So yeah, it was really cool to get to play where we had originally played, because I think if they had stuck us on a different stage, the experience wouldn't have been as fun. But back then there would be like hundreds of kids on the stage with you as you played and jumping off into the crowd of like 1,000 kids. It was just wild. It was wild. But now, because of liability and insurance and all that, you have to make sure there's security and all your ducks are in a row legally. There wasn't as much of that.
See, I'm not looking it up, but I'm imagining these furnaces. What are they, like big round cisterns?
Yeah, just big stacks that go up into the sky, and then it's just really. It's metal. It's probably one of the most metal places you can be, because there's huge like coal-fired furnaces. In the stage that we played, when you're looking at the stage, you're looking at a big dirt pile that's back behind the stage that goes up to where I guess the base of one of the main furnaces was. So, and it's all covered. It's like a big pavilion, and where the crowd stands, it's on a slope. So if you get to the back, you're actually over the stage area. So it was just cool. It was, there would be people in back in the day. Well, in the first time, or when we returned, at first there were people sitting on the walls. There were people on the sides of the stage. All the tough guys, with the arms crossed, sitting there watching it. Just bobbing the head, and that went like that for the first day or two, and then they cut it out. Because I guess it was just too dangerous.
Oh,
but it was awesome.
Yeah, for sure, man. I could imagine you're just out in a field. That's the picture you painted for me. Is all this whole crowd is up this hill, and it's kind of like a theater, but it's a hill that people are.
Yeah, a big slope. It slopes down from the the entrance to this building. It is open on the sides, but it's just like a huge shed, that's open on the sides and open at the ends, and there's like a furnace at one end. So, yeah, you're walking down the slope at one point to the stage, and then you walk up a dirt pile to the furnaces to the back. So it's kind of like a beat, sort of situation, where the stage is like right down here.
And what was the name of that festival? Because I want to look up video of that, and I encourage, I'm sure people want to look up.
The video you have to look up is Andrew W.K. He played the year after, I think it was 2002. Mm-hmm. I can't remember the last year we did. I think we did it 99 or 2000, 2001. We did two back to back, and then the next year Andrew W.K. played, and it's wild. The video is still up on YouTube. It is wild. There's as many people on the stage as there are in the crowd.
That's hot, man. That is excellent, man. I'm so glad that finally did happen for you, and you got to be a part of that. I'm sure you got jazzed. Playing with your friends and seeing the band you were talking about. I think at the end of last podcast that they did take the route of going off to stardom and continuing that path that you could have gone, but
yeah. Under Oath.
Under Oath.
We were friends with them, and they went on, they kind of became like the biggest thing in that genre. And we toured with them, back in the day.
Yeah.
And but yeah, it was awesome. It was fun. The keyboard player came over, Chris, and he, rallied with us before we went on stage, because he knew we hadn't done this in 20 years. we're like the old guys. Everybody there's got roadies, and they got their guitar techs, and we show up, bring our stuff in, just dad showing up with gear, sort of thing. He came over and powwowed with us, and it was just cool catching up.
Well, we were talking about gear last time, and you were talking about your Les Paul that you had, and I think you had some. What was the company? Hard Luck Kings. They're a company that you've been kind of joined forces with, whether they knew it or not, that you were getting your guitars and your gear from Flying V and SG type guitars. I mean, what are you? What kind of gear? I know you said you weren't a gearhead before, but what kind of gear are you running with your newest endeavor?
Well, I've got a purple. It's like a Firebird copy. I mean, it's pretty. Like when I play it, people are like actually impressed more by the guitar, I think, than with me. But it's gold hardware, purple. The thing is huge, man. It's like a carrying a battleship, into your show. But it's awesome. So I love playing that. But my one standby is like it's a Russellville all ash, same color, neck to body. It's got like a light wood grain color, and it's just my old standby. It gets the job done. It's all around. It's a workhorse, but it's got like a Telly style body, but it's got a Stratocaster style headstock.
Man, it's so amazing. Sometimes I talk to people on this podcast, and I wonder, how people pick out gear. I've had people that pick out gear because it's pretty. Oh, look at that starburst on that guitar. I'm gonna get it. Does it sound good? I don't know. I'll make it sound like something. But
well, like my friends always tell me, they're like, it doesn't matter what you play on, you still sound like Jason. Which is a compliment. I'll take it, as a compliment. That's how they mean it. But, I always heard the story of, I think it was maybe Nuno Betancourt, was talking about playing on Eddie Van Halen's gear, because obviously he was a big Eddie fan. So, he jumps up on stage with him, and they're messing around, and he starts playing, and he's like, man, I wanted it to sound like Eddie, but it just sounded like me. And
it was that mostly red.
It's so much of that in your feel, your phrasing, and just how you play. It's great to mess around with tone makers, amps, and guitars and stuff. But at the end of the day, you can eke out some like really nice stuff with some cheap gear.
Now, Eddie Van Halen, he played that, was it a Fender Stratocaster? It was mostly red, and it looked like there was like white tape all over it.
Yeah, he made his own guitars, really. I mean, his main guitar was called, Frankenstein. And it was really parts, neck from other guitars. There were Charvels, there was Kramers, Strats. He had a Gibson Explorer that he had like sawed out part of the body so that it looked like teeth on one end, and it was just, he did weird stuff with his guitars, but it was always awesome.
Well, is that something that you've ever done? I got a friend of mine that's Ryan over at Palmer Music, and he sits in the back of that store, or at least he did. I'm not sure if he's still working there, but Palmer Music in Conway, Arkansas. Give a shout out to them, a little plug, free plug. What's that?
On my guitar. He may have done some work on my stuff. I'm not sure if it's the same guy, but I've taken a guitar over there before Furnace Fest to have it, ready as my backup, and he put a new pickup in it.
See, I wondered about that, because you were talking about you like the double humbuckers instead of the single coils. There's different sounds that come out, and you still don't read music. Is that right?
Uh-uh.
Nobody in the band, not even in Cabover Pete, reads music?
The bass player, he might, because I think he's an old band guy. But no, I tried to learn, but never really did. I know, a few chords and what I picked up like from tablature when I was a kid and just what I've learned by ear. But for the most part, it's just all by ear.
Yeah, you took like 2 months of lessons, I think, and it didn't take because you knew already more than what they were teaching you at the time.
Well, the guy had poofed out like, this would have been it's been about 87, right? So you got the guy that's got the teased up, hair. Like at night, he's going out to rock, during the day, he's coming in to, to give lessons to snot-nosed kids. So, there would be me and another guy, our acoustic, waiting for this guy to show up because he's like, 20 minutes late. He rushes in, oh man, all right, he sits down and he's trying to give you, tablature and sort of show you this and that. Okay, is there anything you want to know? Thing is, while I'm waiting on him or while I'm at the house, I'm already learning the stuff that he's trying to give me. I'm like, I've already got this, dude.
So in essence, you ran so far away.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Yeah, of what that guy was trying to teach me.
Well, I know, I don't want to make this like a whole gigantic podcast. I know we've got the basics of who you are and what you do, but we're here to talk about specifically, some music that you're making, that you have made over the last couple of years, with a new band. Tell me about what's going on. I know I said the name Cabover Pete, and I think I mentioned at the end of the last podcast the Jason Lancaster experience. I kind of want to keep that going.
Get me to do.
What's that?
It's the Jason Lancaster experience.
Yeah.
And it's all pretty much that. If you're a creative person, you're just compelled to create whether there's an audience for it or not. Because I don't know if I didn't have a band, I would just be sitting at my computer, recording things, programming drums. You're just compelled to do it as a creative person. But, and you're just kind of putting it in the vault. Who knows? Maybe this will show up later on. Maybe I'll have a need for this. So
well, that's a perfect segue because the new song, The Devil's Lettuce, is an old song that you've had in your back pocket for what, 20 years?
For 20 years. Because it was just a sort of a faux, it was kind of like my makeshift blues or, country picking, because I use more than just the pick. I, use different fingers to do that lick. So it would just always, it would be something that I would just mess around with between takes or, if we're at a show, just to kind of make the audience laugh, I would, do some, just to throw something totally off the wall in there. So it wasn't until I started playing a Cabover Pete that it was like, this could actually fit. We could actually do something with it. So yeah, the guys at Cabover Pete really liked it. And we just, Rod wrote lyrics and we just built a song around the riff.
Well, it's a well-produced song. I know that officially it's not supposed to come out for another few days, but it's out. My goodness, I think you put it on Spotify, and they went ahead and they made a YouTube video out of it, and they and I think they've went ahead and distributed it for you, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, well, when you're like an independent artist, you've got a couple of ways to go. You've got like CD Baby. I've got a DistroKid account, which is basically the same thing. They offer services. So what you do is you upload it, and then they distribute it to all the streaming services. You can do different things. They'll nickel and dime you for other, services. Hey, you're doing this. You want to go ahead and do this, and this will help you out. So yeah, it was suggested to us to go ahead and upload the song because in holidays, there's a lot of other bands that are putting out their holiday music. And not just a holiday song, but it's just, suggested it might be an influx of a lot of that stuff. So things might not show up in a timely manner, to be out by Thanksgiving. So Rod went ahead and uploaded it, and then it just started filtering in this weekend. So we thought, hey, what the heck? Let's just go. We'll go ahead, early,
But there's a progression of where it was 20 years ago. You have a video on your Jason Lancaster guitarist Facebook page. That's where I saw it, where you explain a little bit about how this song came about. And you have an acoustic guitar with a very, very, very stripped down version of the lick that became the song Devil's Lettuce.
Yep.
Now, yeah, Rod, the lead singer, and I guess the driving force of Cabover Pete, heard this little lick that you were putting together, and how did it form into this fantastic Southern rock, dirty, just feels like, oh, I want to get in there and just have a good time and put a bonfire out and shoot some deer, or, just a good song for Southern peoples.
That is one that is very, there's some songs that you really got to work at. There's some songs that, man, okay, we got to put this down and just come back to it because for whatever reason, it's just not working there. It just seems kind of wonky. Then there's some songs that just flow. I mean, it just comes out like stream of conscious, boom, it's there. And that one, we had to work like maybe the ending a little bit and get all on the same page. But as far as all the parts, it was a very easy song to write. So I, got in there with the guys, sort of showed them the progressions. We worked out the time, how many times we do this or that. But I wrote like all the parts. So.
Wait, you wrote all the parts, like drums? Yeah. Drums, lead, rhythm, all the different instruments you got?
Yeah, I didn't like tell the drummer what to play, or the bass player or whatever, or the guitar player. They just got to come up with their, what accompanies what I'm doing. So like the riff that I came up with is just kind of like the pivot point, and you take the Legos, I'm mixing my metaphors here, but it's like the main Lego, and you're just building, around that Lego. What fits well with that.
I mean, it's in line with the greatest classic rock songs that that lick. I can name that tune in 3 notes. Ba-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. You know what that is.
Yeah.
And that's, man, I think that. What? Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna. No, I mean, that's definitely what you want to be. Is you want it to be right to the point. People know exactly what you're going for. That you don't want people going, what's happening? You don't want the dog ear thing. Well, you want to get it right off the bat.
Okay, the other thing you're talking about is like folk song territory, to where you're telling a story. And you don't know, what is this song about? And they start off with a whole, it's like they're reading the Great Gatsby to you. And by the end of then you find out, oh, the Gatsby was great. How about that? By the end of the song. And it was like a story. But here you hook them, that the hook brings you back is how you get them in the beginning. You got to keep it simple. But what is Devil's Lettuce?
So, Devil's Lettuce, it's pretty on the nose, It's a marijuana, weed. So it's about weed, but it's Rod's take on it is, it really is a story with the lyrics. It starts out with a couple of guys who are down on their luck. They figured out a way to make money. So some old hillbilly, hippie has taught them something, and that's how to grow wheat. And then from there, it's just the business grows until at the end, it becomes legitimized by the medical marijuana industry, and, which is, not here. It's not legal as a recreational drug, but, it's what it progresses to, from small business owner to, large business owner by the end of the song.
Well, what are your feelings on that? Because, I've never partaken. I've smelled it. I've been around it. I've had friends, and of course I've been to concerts and shows where you can smell it in the air. The contact buzz. I feel like what's that?
In your line of work and not, have seen some of that.
Yeah, but I feel like it should be at least legalized and regulated. I think the only ones that are against the legalization and the regulators are the illegal drug dealers. Those are the ones that are going to have problems selling on the corners, because if it gets regulated and legalized like all over this country. I don't know. It needs to be.
You would think, or they'll just move on to something else that's more, taboo. It's like, oh, well, this, we can't really make money off of this anymore. Now, I don't know. I'm not an expert. I don't partake. I partook in college, when I was younger, but, I don't now, but have, nothing against it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and I have family that's really into it, and then they swear by the oils and the salves and the CBD and I feel like there has to be something to it. Science is saying this stuff's pretty good for you, and there's other use. If you watch, I guess I learn everything I know is I learn in movies. I watch Biodome and Stephen Baldwin talking about purple sticky punch and how you can make things from hemp. So Viva los Biodome.
Yeah. But I mean, there's a lot of truth to that. I mean, I think some people get a little bit like overboard with it. It just becomes their identity. But yeah, I mean, if you don't become a freak about it, that's what your life becomes is just weed plant, shirts and posters on the wall. Whatever, it's, there's nothing wrong with it.
Man, I'm interested.
Drunk and kill people and, drunk driving accidents and, and it's really not. I think they should legalize it and just tax it.
Well, I'm interested in the oils and the salves and the things like that are supposed to help to calm you down and help to make you feel better, after a long day of work. In fact, I've had a couple of weed distributors on this podcast. One is like the vice president in charge of marijuana in Florida. I can't remember his exact title, but another one,
Florida.
Yeah, another one sent me little samples, but I'm not allowed to use them because my day job precludes it. And in fact, my day job is right next to a distribution center.
Walks into the building.
And I want to go into the distribution center, and I'm kind of interested in it, but I know that I can't. I can't until this job becomes not necessary in my life.
It's interesting because being a musician, I know a lot of people who do partake, so I get to see it really more now than I ever did. Because Filo Standing back in the day was, it was Christian, so you didn't see a whole lot of that. You weren't supposed to anyway. Not that that's all we hung around with, because being in Memphis, Memphis is a dirty music scene. Like it is a very crusty, punk rock. But I don't know, there's a dirt and grit to Memphis, and so I've seen some things, but here lately I've got more friends that have got their medical card, they do it quite a bit, so I'm inundated with it way more than I ever have been on a personal level.
Yeah, but the thing that I'm hearing now is the old timers are very upset with the distribution centers because they can't get a mellow high. From what I understand, the amount of THC has gone up exponentially, like percentage wise, where they used to be able to get a nice mellow buzz with a low percentage of this THC, and now everything's like high THC. So you smoke and you're like under the table.
Yeah, that's the joke, isn't it? Like the old timers, I know what weed's like, and then the young guys are like, oh, really? If you hadn't smoked in a while, you better get ready because this stuff is strong, way stronger than you remember.
Well, I mean, this is all hearsay and this is all secondhand. So I know that indica is indicouch. That's the stuff that you use to get down. And then the sativa is the stuff you use to get up. I listened to the song, but I really didn't harp on the lyrics. Is any of this mentioned in there, or is it pretty much a generalization of them growing into this big business?
It's pretty general, what is it? Sticky buds. I mean, it's he doesn't name check any specific product. It's all fairly,
Yeah,
common.
you don't want to name check. Look what happened to Tupac. he named names. That's right. That's right. Ups to Tupac. But hey, now that you're singing a song like this, do you think it's going to? Okay, I'll be the old biddy church going lady. Do you think it's going to invite the wrong element to your show?
Oh, nah. I mean, not really. I don't think so. I mean, those guys are already there, and the people that show up to our shows, I think they're more predisposed to do that anyway.
Yeah, I can see the buds in the air.
Right, right. And we're, I was going to say, for a local band, Cabover Pete is we're a little bit louder and more raucous than I think a lot of the fare you get around here. Because I think a lot of the places want you to be the acoustic duo or trio, sort of quiet, very, very easy on the digestion, but that's really not us, which hinders us, but that's just what we grew up on. It's what we like. We might be old, but that's just what we like.
Yeah, at the end of the week, at the end of a long work week, sometimes you got to be loud. You got to rage. You want to have a show that's in your face a little bit. You can't be all mellow. I mean, some people like to unwind on a Sunday afternoon, but on a Friday night or a Saturday night, I could see some Cabover Pete. Unfortunately, and fortunately for me, I've had the opportunity to see you one time. And my goodness, what a show you gave. The people that were there were enjoying themselves, myself included. I became a Cabover Pete fan that night, man. I mean, and I'm a fan of you before I even heard one lick of you, because you're a good guy anyway. But I encourage people, if you get the opportunity, especially in the Russellville area, go see a Cabover Pete show for show.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now you're still getting back to Memphis and messing around with the boys from Few Left Standing, or do you have people back there that you're doing other projects with?
See, the two main projects I do right now are this Cabover Pete, and but I'm also lead guitar player in a Memphis band called Fugitive Droids. I can never remember, is it Fugitive Droids or Fugitive? I think it's Fugitive Droids.
These are the droids you're looking for.
Right. And that's exactly the reference. But that's very different from Cabover Pete. These guys I've known for those 20 years. We knew of them when we were Few Left Standing. An earlier incarnation of their band played with us, at some shows. But and I just kind of through the 20 years had I was in a band, an early incarnation of this band. I would say a incarnation of this band probably about 10 years ago, called To Serve Man. But then I moved here, so that puts me away from them. So I really wasn't able to do it anymore. But when Few Left Standing reunited, we did a Memphis show after the Birmingham Furnace Fest, because we wanted to do a Memphis show, for those folks. And we had Fugitive Droids open up, and they lost their lead guitar player not long after that. And James, the other guitar player, asked me if I wanted to do it. And initially, I said no, because I had too much going on, and it just it's hard on a long distance relationship.
Yes.
So I told him, later on, because we got back in touch, I was like, look, I'll tell you what, I'll do it. It's just like, man, I can't be coming to this town like every Saturday or every time you guys go practice. So what I'll do is you guys just send me whatever recordings you got, and I'll learn it, and I'll just be ready when we play a show. I'll come to the odd practice here and there, to get things tight, and when we're writing, I can get my 2 cents or whatever. But that's a pretty dense band. You've got a keyboard player, you've got another guitar player. So right there, you've got the keyboards, fill in such a huge, area of the sound. Sometimes I'm just like, I don't even know where I can fit in. I mean, other than to do my, here or there, it's just hard for me to get a foothold. I just I'm basically there to thicken out the sound and then jump in with a lead, here and there. But, and it's very different style wise, I would say. And it's hard to really say, but there's some elements of Faith No More. There's some progginess to it, but not like Dream Theater or King Crimson necessarily. There's like some, there's just like little elements of some 70s music, 80s. We may do a little bit of grindcore for a couple of seconds, like get really metal, but then it gets really melodic. So it's all over.
Yeah, you're bringing your Jason Lancaster signature to both of these different projects, very different projects, because Cabover Pete, primarily the Southern rock, real dirty. It's guitar driven because you got 3 guitars in this band, so that's pretty cool. But the other, even though it's Southern, the Cabover Pete, I still hear some metal. I always hear some Jason Lancaster in there. You cannot, like Eddie Van Halen you talked about before, his signature. Carlos Santana, he's playing guitar on that. Jason Lancaster, it's got to be rewarding, and you've been developing this.
There's a very specific thing this makes me think of. If because we do originals in Cabover Pete, but we also do covers. It's hard to play bars and things like that and not have at least a couple of sets, 2 or 3 sets to play nightly. So we've got a fairly deep repertoire of cover tunes that we play. Rocky Mountain Way is one of them. So that song in the verses, you just kind of got the drums in the face and laying it down. But me, because I'm the metal guy, and I don't know if the rest of the guys is crazy about it, but I don't care, man. I just got to. I just gotta bring that to it.
Well, that is a guitar-driven song for sure. It's got the blues riffs in there, but Rocky Mountain Way. Oh my goodness, so good. You got your own songs that you've been writing, that you've been recording. Now you said the other project is more of more rock, like prog rock.
It's more, I might be way off when I say prog, and not just because there's a keyboard in it, but there's a lot of experimentation and just a lot of weirdness to it. I mean, in a good way. It's very different. It's not really cookie cutter. It's got melody, but it's got heavy, but then it's got like some uplifting stuff. Just some more punk rock type stuff. So it runs the gamut, which I like. And when I grew up, a lot of the harder stuff I liked tended to be bands that could show you some other facets of what they're into, rather than just we're just strict chugga, that's it. But riding that E or that drop D or whatever the lowest note on the guitar is, that gets old after a while. You need to change it up and kind of show a little bit of song structure and songcraft.
Well, these 2 projects, being so different, they expand you and they make you a better guitarist, a more well-rounded musician. I even tried to get you hired out as a blues player that one Monday at Lucky's, and I think you did just fine. They were looking for like maybe vocals or something like that, but no, you were great.
I told you, I was like,
I know.
They want somebody, most places want somebody that can sing as well as play. And that's just, I mean, I do great backing vocals. I think. But as far as a lead singer, yeah, I don't think anybody really. I don't feel comfortable enough to do that. I don't think that's my forte. I'd like to think that I know my strengths, and that's not one of them.
Well, do you see yourself as a hired gun, a studio musician? If anybody needs some licks added to their projects, would you be willing to break off, maybe record some? You have the ability in your own house to record your licks and send them out to a producer that could spin them down, and your guitar would be featured on whatever song. Are you open to that?
Oh, definitely. I really some of my guitar heroes were guys who did that. What's his name from Toto? I'm blanking on his name right now, but he was on so many records he forgets what he was on. Oh my gosh, Steve Lukather. He hears stuff on the radio and goes, I think I did that. He's been on so much. So
that's nice, man.
Yeah, I've looked up to those guys. They can just walk into a situation and be like, yeah, I got something for that.
See, I'm listening to a podcast today about, bridge builders and you the advantage of being a construction worker is, I worked on that building. Oh yeah, I helped build that hospital. I helped build that bridge. You, as being a member of all these different projects, you can be listening to the radio or listening to your streaming services, and you go, hey, that's my guitar lick. I was on that track. And that's got to make you feel so good. You built something. You actually constructed something that changes people's moods, that changes people's minds, that makes people, feel a certain kind of way. Maybe if it was down and dirty and, oh, yeah, I want to, headbang a little bit, or, I want to feel a little easier. You have all different types of projects. Now, the Jason Lancaster experience, are you expanding on that? Are you're recording in your bedroom there? Are you recording whole tracks?
I do have whole tracks. It's just the problem is I don't have vocals. I've got plenty of stuff for people to put vocals on, and I've tried to do that. Actually, the lead singer for Fugitive Droids, before I joined that group, I brought him, I talked to him and he laid down some vocals for things. It's just I haven't released that. Now it's almost like we're using those songs to kind of break apart riffs and that to maybe use and construct newer songs. So you never know. I'm sure eventually I will just bite the bullet and release this stuff. But, I'm always I'm always thinking that I'll have these in a better form, or I want to try to have a consistent release to put out there before I just put something out that's just me. It needs to be something that's not just, okay, just here's a little, this doesn't really fit with that, but it's just here, just let me throw it up and, see what works. I want to try to have a consistent product, that really sort of fits together and, feels full.
Well, SoundCloud is full of stuff like that. People that think that they could do it all on their own, and a lot of it sounds like poo-poo, big time poo-poo. But it's the advantage of you working with others, working with a team. You can take a guitar riff to them, and they can go, hey, you know what? I got a drum beat, and I got a bass rhythm, and I got a lead that'll fit. You work together, and you come up with something special with your projects, and that's fantastic.
It gets tedious to have to program out everything yourself and have to play every instrument. I mean, there's some people that just like to do that. Prince was that's my go-to when I think of stuff like that. Prince was great alone, but, I remember at one point Questlove and D'Angelo were trying to get him to, bring them in and work with them. But, Prince was the lone gun. He didn't bring anybody in to help him write songs. But, man, collaboration is it's so good. It's so good to collaborate with people because they come at you with an angle you never thought, you would imagine.
Yeah.
And it just makes I tend to think that collaboration makes things better.
Well, the editor makes the movie most of the time. You know, yes, you can give him all this content, but without a good editor, without a good producer, a good engineer, the engineer's who makes the song, who's got that discerning ear, really doesn't have any skin in the game. You know, I've had bands that the guitarist was the one that was making the music, so all you heard was the guitar, and the drummer was making the music in this other band, so all you heard was a big drum beat, you know, and the other music was drowned out. But if you have a discerning ear, are you taking this to who recorded The Devil's Lettuce? Was that something that you did on your own, or did you take it to somebody?
No, that was Ray Brooks at Crystal Sound Studio in
Bryant.
I believe that. Yeah, I think he's in Bryant. Yeah.
Okay, just southwest of Little Rock for my listener.
Exactly. He's awesome. Really, nice guy, and I mean, he's very helpful. You know, great input, but his studio's real comfortable. You know, real homey.
So what made you go to him rather than record it in your own personal studio?
The guys in Cabover Pete already had a relationship, with Ray from back in the day. But, it's one of those things where sometimes it's very freeing to not, like I said, not have to do everything yourself, because you really need to go to a studio that's set up to record drums, because when it gets down to it, the drums are probably your biggest problem area. In post-mic drums and getting the system right in the room, so there's a lot of variables with that, because you got the bleed from the hi-hats and the cymbals, but you want to keep everything punchy. So it's just better, somebody with experience with that. I've done that before, but I'd rather defer to somebody who's had way more experience with acoustic drums. And I think he's actually primarily a drummer.
It's nice to go to a studio where they're ready for this. That's all. The room has been prepped. This is the spot where the guitarist will play. You'll get the best sound out of it. This is where the vocals will be recorded. In this booth over here, you get the best sound. You need to have somebody like that. And give them a shout out one more time, because I want to give credit where credit is due to that studio.
Ray Brooks, I believe it's Crystal Sound Studios.
In Bryant, Arkansas. All right. Well, hey, I want you to give other shout outs as we wind this thing down to people that have helped you along the way. If you got anybody that you got to mention, because they're going to be listening. But, give some mentions to some people that have helped you out, and let people know how to get a hold of you. What's the best way to get a hold of Jason Lancaster, guitarist, and Cabover Pete, and any of the other projects that you're involved in?
Well, if you're trying to get in touch with me personally, I'm known as Lee Carlisle on Instagram and Facebook. Now, there is a Jason Lancaster account. It's old. I don't check it. So just to throw a little bit of confusion out there for people who are looking for it, that I want to find me, that's why I came up with Lee Carlisle.
Yeah.
But there's also the Jason Lancaster guitarist account, and I looked at that too. It's tied to the Lee Carlisle account. So, you can find me on Facebook or Instagram as Lee Carlisle. There you go. Now, as far as like the bands go, you can find Cabover Pete on Facebook. Not currently on Instagram, but we're working on that. There's a few left standing accounts still around, that I'm also, tied with that account. A couple of us are, just to sort of keep tabs on what's going on, or if there's any sort of news, which there's really not, lately. And Fugitive Droid. There's 2 EPs on Spotify. Currently I'm not on those. Those are, what they did previously, but it's great stuff. People should go check it out. But yeah, we're looking to book a couple of gigs. Actually, I think we've got a couple of gigs booked at the beginning of the year in Memphis with Fugitive Droids. I'm trying to get Cabover Pete in Memphis, and we'll see how that goes. That would be nice.
It's tough, man. We all got families. It's tough to travel, to get the people out there. Now, okay, I did find some Fugitive Droids on YouTube. I didn't find their actual YouTube video page, but the Cabover Pete has a YouTube. They've got 3 videos out there, including the video tutorial that you gave about the devil's lettuce. That's it's out now. It's out now. And me being a visual guy, and whenever I'm playing Cabover Pete stuff at the Rab, which I will, and I have, I'd like to have some video. I know you put the pouring rain video. It looks like it's some B-roll of people walking in the rain, but as long as it gives some visual, it gives me something to put on the screen.
Yeah, like Rod, turned me on to this. There's some program, but he doesn't really know how to do that stuff, so he's kind of like, here, why don't you do something with this? So I started playing with it, and it was fun. It looks like we're Eastern European, or something. But whatever. I mean, people seem to really like it.
You'll be big in Germany.
Yeah, I do want to say people really seem to like the visual for the Devil's Lettuce, and that was a friend of mine named Jason Gann out of Knoxville, long time, like best friend of mine. And looking for something like I'm thinking of like 1984 Van Halen, there's a baby, the little angelic baby with a cigarette, like that's kind of like what I'm thinking about, and that's what he came up with, and which was way better than what I had in mind. So yeah, throw that up there when you play it. That would be great.
Yeah, I like it. I like the little, looks like a little angel smoking a cigarette, a devil's lettuce, if you will. Right.
And then the horns are actually like the leaves of the marijuana plant. So that was really cool, I thought.
Yeah, it's cannabis, man. I keep getting corrected every time I say marijuana, especially to any of the gurus. Marijuana is a derogatory term. You got to say cannabis.
Derogatory?
Yeah, it's something to do with the way they
I would say you probably sound like a boomer saying that. I feel like a boomer saying that. Marijuana.
It's cannabis.
Yeah, cannabis. Yeah, sure.
All right, my man. Well, I don't want this to be the last time that we talk. I hope that people go out and listen to Cabover Pete, hire Cabover Pete and Fugitive Droids, and and find you and have you be the axe man on their various projects, because you're too talented not to be heard. You got too much song in your head not to put it out there to the world. I mean, and I know you get jazzed when you're playing a concert and you got 50 people, 100 people, 1,000 people, thousands of people in front of you. You're going to give the Jason Lancaster, you're going to give your all no matter what, man. But more people, more energy. I don't know how much you believe in energy transference, but yeah, if more people come to a show, what's that?
I definitely believe that. I mean, if you've got, a dead audience, it's like, then you feel timid. But man, whenever they're like really like going for what you're doing, that just gives you confidence. And then when you're confident, you do so much better. You play so much better. You play confident.
Yeah.
So that's
all right. Well, let's finish this thing off with last words for the people. It could be words to live by, something you heard a long time ago, or just whatever pops into your head at this moment in time. Jason Lancaster, a.k.a. Lee Carlisle, guitar hero. Give the last words for the people.
Well, I would say I am definitely available. If you hear some of this stuff and like it, definitely hit me up. I would be glad to do whatever. Anything I can contribute, great. But also mainly listen to that new Cabover Pete Devil's Lettuce, because that's that just came out. We're excited about it. It was really fun to do, and we really want people to hear it and enjoy it.
Well, there you have it, party people. Jason Lancaster. Man, what a cool dude. He's somebody to look up to. He's a good dude. Not only making the music, but he's a good family man. He's a good all-around person. And that's what, whether you believe as a Christian or what have you, just live your life, man. Be a good person. Try to be nice to people, So Jason Lancaster, I commend you for doing what you do, putting the music out for the people, but also taking care of your family while you're doing it, and you're a fine, upstanding citizen of the world. The world needs more Jason Lancasters, more people like you that are, just good, just all around good people. It's good to know you, my man. In case you didn't know, I like knowing you, and it's always good to see you. Thanks for coming on the What Makes You Famous podcast once again. Make sure, my loyal listener, you check out Cabover Pete and the Devil's Lettuce. They're very proud of that song, and with good reason. It's a good song, man. It'll be your song of the winter. So if you're feeling cold, it might warm you up a little bit. Yeah, it's got those lyrics. While you're hanging by the fire, sitting in a deer stand. Yeah, listen to some Cabover Pete in your headphones. Not too loud because you'll scare the deer away. All right, party people. That's it for this edition of What Makes You Famous. Thanks again, Jason Lancaster, for being on the show. Now, I'm turning my attention to you, my loyal listener. If you'd like to be on the podcast, I encourage you to give me a call, 501-470-6386, or email keysdan@aol.com. That's it for me. It's KeysDAN, RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com. Peace. I'm out of here.